Hello, and welcome everybody to our chats on Saturday afternoons. Usually we do this at 5, sometimes in Spanish, sometimes in English. But today we decided to do it in English. And I have a couple of two special guests with me today. And let's see if I can bring y'all on camera. There you go. Let's take that sound out. Welcome, Pastor Armando Miranda Jr. and Ashley Payton. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, doing great. How about you, Ashley?
I'm doing pretty good.
Pastor Miranda, he had the privilege to speak to me today earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
He had the privilege, and we had the privilege to hear him speak to us today in the morning in the sermon. He is the Youth and Young Adults Associate Director for the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists located in Maryland. And Ashley Payton is a dear and very loved church member of ours for the Austin Crosslink SDA Church here in Austin, Texas. She is also our Pathfinder Director. Welcome, Ashley. And we were just talking, guys. I was introducing Pastor Miranda, Ashley, and we had so many plans this year with the Pathfinders and everything, but COVID has messed us up a little bit on that area.
Yeah. Yep.
But today we are going to have a conversation about youth and young adults. I know, Pastor, that you had a little bit of time earlier today, but just tell us what is your role? What is it that you do for the NAD in the youth and young adults department at the NAD office?
Okay, so if you're not familiar with the structure of our church, the local church is the key element of everything. So where you are, Crosslink, and I think it's Cedar Park.
Yes.
That's your other church. That's actually the base for every single part of ministry. Now, the church has different layers. So, Crosslink and Cedar Park are part of the Texas Conference of Churches. So all the churches in Texas Conference become basically the whole driver of ministry in Texas. Now, after that, there's called the Southwestern Union, which has Texas, New Mexico, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. So those become the churches of all those states, or those conferences become the union of churches. Now, we have 9 unions in the North American Division, and all those unions like Southwestern Union, Southern Union, Atlantic Union, Columbia Union, Lake Union, Mid-America Union, North Pacific Union, Pacific Union, and Church of Canada, all those 9 become the North American Division. So I work at the North American Division, which is a few steps removed, not because I'm better, not because I'm taller, or not because I'm whatever. It is not that way. It's just that, administratively speaking, there are layers where we can, kind of move a bigger picture, not for only the local church, but for all the churches in United States, Canada, Bermuda, and Guam and Micronesia. Yes, Guam and Micronesia are part of the North American Division since 2013. And so the picture that you have behind me, that I have behind me, sorry, it is from Palau, which is part of Guam and Micronesia Mission, which is part of the North American Division. So I was able to be there in 2016, doing some training for Pathfinders, by the way, Ashley over there. And yes, so that's how I was able to take that picture. But they're part of the North American Division. That's the reason I ended up over there. Now, I am the Associate Youth Director. We have 3 directors. We have the main director, which is Pastor Tracy Wood. Yeah. And he was a youth director in Oregon Conference for 10 years. And then he was called to be the Associate Director. I came in 15 from Texas Conference. I love it. I love Texas. I drove in it. I ate in a lot of places in Texas. I missed plenty of food from over there. We can talk about that later. But anyway,
you like the salads at the steakhouse, I remember.
Salt Lick, right? Salt Lick. Actually, I never went there. I never went there, but I always know about Salt Lake over there in
Salt
Austin.
Lake. Yeah,
Yeah,
we have one here in Round Rock and one in Austin.
yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the Bucky's. I miss the gas stations. Bucky's gas stations.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way we have anything. We have Wawa and Sheets over here. Not the same. Not the same. The bathrooms make the difference. The bathrooms make the difference.
That bathroom.
So anyway,
Texas. If you're watching and you're not from Texas, there's this gas station, but it's not a gas station. It's
It's a
this
store.
huge gas station with a huge store, and Texas are very 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 proud of.
Hey man,
of
it has
this
enough
location.
bathrooms for anybody that wants to go to be socially distanced. That many bathrooms that you can be socially distanced in a gas station. So
I heard someone say the other day, Bucky's got a case of COVID, but I will risk it for the briskets.
I will risk it for the brisket. You know what? There's a Bucky's nuggets, Bucky's nuggets.
Yeah.
Oh man, come on, man. All right, let's get off of that.
Hey,
So,
let
anyway.
me. You know who's here? He's Luis Ramon Lu. Do you remember Ramon Lu from San Antonio?
El compa Ramon.
El
What's
compa
up,
Ramon. Today is his birthday.
Happy birthday
Day
to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Le
Happy
deseamos a Ramón lo cumpleaños feliz.
Happy birthday, Ramon Lu, el compa Ramon. Lo queremos. We love you.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead, brother. Continue.
Well, after I digress, let's come back. So I work for Pathfinders, Adventures, Master Guides. That's what I do. And it's not that I lead everything and I like know it all of everything. I know that I don't know much. Actually, there's plenty of people that know more, and but I'm overseer of the ministries for club ministries. So any change in policies, any change of, let's say, we have some camping policy for adventurers.
Okay.
That will come from our office, meaning we gather all the representatives around from the division and sit down in meetings and say, okay, so what are the camping policies for adventurers? And so we have a camping policy for adventurers. If we have a statement on human sexuality in club ministries, that will come from our office, not from the local conference, because we try to make it broad from that you talk about the laws in Canada, in Bermuda, and you got to adapt to those things because they're different laws in different countries. So that's what our office does, tries to give guidance to certain issues, but the local conference is the one that is like the mover and shaker of everything over the local church and local conference.
Gotcha. Okay. So you are you heavily involved with what is Pathfinders and Master Guides and club ministries, right?
Yes. I do some camping with the Master Guides. We do some expeditions and we go backpacking and all this stuff. So I try to stay active. I gotta be honest. I'm not in the best shape of my life, but I'm trying to get there. Coronavirus has given me a chance to kind of get back on track. So
absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, Ashley and I were going to just ask you some questions, and one of the questions that I have here today for you is there is this quote that I think that many of us are familiar with, and that quote is somewhere along the lines of that the youth will finish the proclamation of the gospel. Are you familiar with this quote, and do you believe that it is true? And how do you see that, if so?
With such an army of youth, I've heard that quote, and it's quoted in its right context. I'm a believer of Auntie Ellen. Auntie Ellen was inspired by God. Let's put it that way. And so when I read that quote, I believe that what she said, it goes according to what the Bible says. In Joel 2:28, when we talk about, our children will see visions and dream dreams and all this stuff, That means that they're visionaries, they're dreamers, and usually visionaries and dreamers are the ones that go further than the people before them. They're the innovators. They're the ones who will take further the work. So I'm a believer that that's true. The only problem that I have, and this is very key, is when we at the local church and at the local conference do not give a spot or an option for them to develop their talents for God, or we do not allow them to open up in the mission. One of the pet peeves that I have growing up, looking around, is when in the local church says, "You're too young, you can't do this yet. You got to be more experienced." And you see the young people struggling to find a spot in the church because the adults are not giving them the spot. They don't want to mentor them. They want to say, "Oh, pick up the offering. As that's your role." And no. Unless the church opens up, we're gonna be waiting for the next, generation of young people to finish the work.
You see, I in this quarantine there's this very famous social media app called TikTok.
Yes, sir.
And many millions of people have downloaded it here in the U.S. and it has become very popular.
I see you do a dance over there or something. It went pretty wrong, but it's okay. We're not gonna talk about that.
That is not the way I was going with this conversation.
Hey.
But listen, there is a community of Christian people on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting to see and to know, to see how they are doing so. And it's with methods that are unorthodox, meaning that they'll perhaps throw a dance or throw a move in there with a caption about Jesus or a powerful quote, which I've never seen in church, which I don't think honestly we'll see in church because of the place setting that in the culture of the church that has been placed. But guys, I have seen so many people like doing live and just talking about Jesus in ways I've never seen before. And when I see that, I'm like, whoa, perhaps this is part of the fulfillment of the youth finishing the proclamation of the gospel in unorthodox ways.
Yeah. What do you think, Ashley?
I mean, we have so many different avenues for social media now. Snapchat, TikTok. I don't really use a lot of social media, but I know that, or from what I've seen, TikTok seems to be more public. So I think that is a very good method to spread the gospel, to further God's work. Like, I've seen doctors use it to dispel myths about certain things, and I don't know why we couldn't do the same thing and just share, hey, verse of the day, whatever, or like, God loves you, like just some little quick mini devotional, I guess, on TikTok. Like, not even a devotional, just like a thought. And I don't know why our teenagers or youth, young adults, whoever, couldn't do that. Because that is the thing that is popular right now. That is what they're using with their friends. So why not?
Yeah. Right. One of the things that Sergio and Ashley, I'm this year I'm 40, so I'm not young anymore. Yeah.
What?
I'm not young anymore. I gotta accept that fact. And 10 years ago, when I was pastoring, I thought I was in the know of things. Okay, I knew social media. I was one of the first in my mind, in my church when I was a pastor, to kind of utilize that. And I'm not saying the first or the best. I'm just saying that as a younger pastor, I was working with Facebook, working with Instagram from the get-go. Now I find myself a little out of sync, because I'm not used to. I try Snapchat. is too intense, meaning you got to be connected constantly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
TikTok is about the same. So for me, for my taste, I'm not there. But what you said is true. The young people are there. So this is what I've come to the realization and my thoughts. One, we have not allowed ministry to flow freely because we're trying to contain it. Meaning, it has to work within what we know what to do. And that's a problem in our church for not only for the young people, but for the development and the creativity of our young people. I believe that, and this is my personal thought, that we should allow our young people to run free in the mission. What I mean by this, one of the things that we talk about discipleship and church planting, you're in church planting, Sergio, and you know that you have to have a certain thing and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking about how did the disciples do this when they were just barely starting? They went from place to place. They didn't wait for the organization to say, now we're going to pay your salary over here for church planting, or we're going to do this for you so that until you have a salary, enough tithe, then we're going to put a pastor over you. I believe that the best, of our people are not going to be pastors in reaching others. Don't get me wrong, pastors have a place. But I believe that if we want this mission to really explode and young people be at the lead of this, we got to allow them to just do mission the way they do mission. Meaning they know how to reach the TikTok crowd. I don't. So I don't try to do that, but I support them and say, keep doing it. Stay grounded. I'll meet with them and say, hey, let's go over what you're sharing. What do you think about, this? And they can share, they can do, and they can start planting even digital churches. And our role is not to take over and say, you know what? I'm going to do the one. Pastor Sergio, you're closer to me than you're closer to them. Come on, man. I'm almost 40. You're closer to me. I'm not going to say how old, but you're closer to me. You have to start mentoring. You got to stop dancing on TikTok and allow others to do the dances on TikTok, bro. And this is the thing, because you said it, Ashley, they are the ones who reach them. We don't have that. But we, the older generation of our church, needs to be mentoring and said, look, I know that I can't reach them, but you can.
Right.
How are you going to do it? And we're supposed to be mentoring, kind of keeping them grounded in the word so that they can do ministry to the people that they reach. Instead of saying from the conference office, from the church, we're going to do it. Ain't got to work like that. I'm sorry. It got to work from the local young people to their friends. And we have to allow them to be creative, to use the tools that they are available for them, not limit them, and not stop them from doing that. Now, that's in the digital world and COVID world right now, which is a digital part. But what about when we go back to a semi-normal thing? I still think that they are the best key to reach young people. Pastor Sergio, Ashley, we may not be the best keys to reach young people. Our young people in our churches are the best keys to reach others. So how are we as a church going to provide for them so they can have a space? It may be, Pastor Sergio, that you open a center of influence in Austin where you are, at Cedar Park, and instead of having a church building, you have a coffee shop. Oh, come on.
Ooh.
We don't want to talk about coffee.
Well,
but maybe you say a coffee shop that has Roma and Postum, whatever you want to call it. But then you have smoothies and all this stuff, and you create a community of people that comes, and the young people leading that project, so that they create a community that is going to reach that kind of a generation. Instead of saying, come to my church, and they're like, I ain't gonna go to your church, come on. They're gonna go to a coffee shop, not to your church. So I'm just saying, throwing ideas. In my mind, young people are gonna be the best ones to reach young people. And we, as leaders of the church, need to support and mentor them and help them for them to do the mission. Because if they don't do it, nothing's gonna go forth.
Yeah. I love to hear you say that. I had an experience a while ago where we were a group of young adults trying to get a ministry off the ground, and it kind of worked. I mean, there were several obstacles in the way, so we didn't quite get it off the ground. But I do think that young people are the best avenue to reaching their friends, because that's the generation. Like, I'm with you. I certainly don't know all the different social media things, but if I can, like you say, mentor or advise a younger person, someone in Pathfinders or in a Sabbath school group, or someone in college, if I can help them figure out how to answer their friends' questions or whatever, then I think that's an awesome evangelism tool, really.
Yeah. Actually, the key is relationship. And, you know, our young people need grounded spiritual mentors. Not to tell them how to do ministry, but to be able to trust someone spiritually. Someone who they can, you know, say, have a question, you know, my friends are coming at it and I don't know how to answer. They can go to you and you can say, you know, let's study together. And you can have a relationship of spiritual growth together, small group kind of setting, intergenerational, because once again, they are our kids, but we're supposed to do that. We're supposed to disciple them, and they are supposed to disciple others. That's the way church grows.
You know, one of the things when we talk about mentorship and when we talk about influence, the fact of the matter is that, in my opinion, we are all influencers, right? In social media today, if you have certain amount of followers, right, or likes, or followers or likes in your page, then you are an influencer. But the fact is, right, that when we talk about this kind of things, when we talk about influencers, the fact is that we all have some type of influence on somebody, whether you have 5 people in your life, whether you have 100 followers, some type of social media account, and even in your life, no matter how old you are, I've seen it that there's always someone looking up to you and wanting to become like you. And when we talk about mentorship, a few years ago, I had this this conversation with a young church member of mine, where we were practicing for we were practicing for Bible Bowl, and I was asking her questions, and as we were studying, she's like, wait a second, you know, how come, you know, like, did Moses open up the sea? Like, how did he do that? And then she started asking questions about God and the existence of God, right? So then came to a point where I was like, wait, do you believe in God? And she said, no, Pastor, don't get me wrong. I do believe in God and I do believe in the Bible, but I just have these questions. And this person said, because when I ask my mom or ask my dad, they don't like it when I question the Bible or I question God or the credibility of these two things. So then that's when I was like, wait a second, you know, perhaps our young people have questions, and it's about how we navigate those type of things. It's the result we'll get and how they will minister to their influence that they have over these people, right?
Yeah. But I have a resource for you. You know, I'm doing my doctoral class right now, and I'm not bragging about it. I'm actually struggling with it.
What do you do your doctorate in?
Leadership, church leadership, which I'm basing it on youth ministry development, leaders development.
That's
so
awesome.
I just started, but man, there's a lot of reading, a lot of homework, and a lot of stuff. But there's one book that I want to share with you. I don't know how to share it, but just can I share it over here?
Absolutely, yeah. Go for it.
Well, not now, but I'm going to tell you very quick. Is a book called After You Believe by a theologian, N.T. Wright, Wright. or something like that. I think I spelled it right. NT Right.
Okay.
After You Believe. And this book talks about, why are we Christians? What is the most, after you say I believe in Jesus Christ, what is the next step? And it goes into this dynamic conversation as a theological, but very deep, but very practical. And this is coming to the core of what we're talking about, the mentoring aspect. What do you do when you have a young person who believes in God but has questions? And that's where discipleship happens. That's, you talk about a pathfinder who, came to you with this question and said, my parents don't like when I ask questions. Right. But come on, you have to be able to ask these questions at church. Because if you don't ask these questions at church, then they're going to look for Google or their friends outside the church to answer those questions.
Right.
That's the reason I asked my I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and I remember my 13 was 9 years old when we were driving back from a basketball game practice, and he's like, "Dad, what is a lesbian or a gay person?"
Wow.
And I'm like, okay then,
And you see, it's awesome that your son has the courage and the confianza, how do you say, the trust,
yep,
to ask you that, because you are the dad, right? And
yeah.
you want to hear those questions instead of that of your son asking those questions to other people.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole point, that when he asked me, I was not taken aback, because I've been saying I'd rather have them ask me right now than they find it and put it on Google, say, what is a lesbian? What is a gay person? No, I don't need that Google definition. I'd rather have them ask me first. And and that's the thing. I was able to speak biblically to him about them. But I had that trust. Can you imagine, Ashley, if that pathfinder comes to you and they're trying to figure out their life, they have some questions about, why does God say this? Or, in this case, Sergio, in my case, was, what about gays or lesbians? What is going on with that? Right?
Because the question doesn't stop there, right? There are follow-up questions.
No.
Yeah.
How do you, because when you say it's a wrong thing, because the Bible says it's wrong, but then you say you got to minister to them, how does that work? In their mind, it's like, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Right.
Because they're developing. Most of the pathfinders at 9 or 10, there's a very concrete mindset. It's like yes or no. I mean, they're starting to kind of question and go into all the little details of things. But it's very tough if they don't have anybody to ask. So that pathfinder, that young person that has a mentorship relationship with you, and then you can grow with them, even you can have a 2 or 3 group with you and discuss together. The church is the spot for small group development, small group discipleship, small group mentorship. I believe that's the best way to growth. And I know that you believe in that, Pastor Sergio. And that's what it is all about. Because if they don't have a spot to speak about these matters, they're going to look at Google. They're going to look at YouTube. They're going to find their answers no matter what. And some of those answers are not going to be what we want them to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've had experiences, not with the younger Pathfinders, but with kids that were older Pathfinder age, so like the senior Pathfinders, who did ask me those hard questions. And I always told them, you can ask me any kind of question you want, and I will do my best to answer it for you. And they frequently came at me with questions along those lines, but also questions like, why is the sky blue? And other questions too. But I think it is so important as a youth leader to have that relationship, whether you're in youth Sabbath school or Pathfinders or even adventurers. I mean, you want to have that relationship in adventurers, you want to have that relationship with the parents as well as the kids, where they can ask questions and, grow in their faith and in their relationship with God. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know there are a few folks watching. If you have a question for the Ashley, myself, or Pastor Armando, please send us your question. Questions.
Let it not be Rafa, okay? I don't want to hear from Rafa, okay? Hey man, Rafa is my good friend from McAllen. He was hey, he can tell you a story of his coming to the church in McAllen. I was the youth pastor there in 2003 to 2005.
Okay.
And he was an Adventist. And I'm just gonna air it out because this is a pretty cool story, though. It is a conversion story. He had a friend. Well, Rafa did not have a car, and but he was always keeping the Sabbath in his home. He would stop.
Really?
He would not. Yeah, he was doing that.
This is the same Rafa we're talking about over here?
Yes, this is the same Rafa we're talking about.
Oh,
and he didn't have a car. So one of his friends became very good friends with him and wanted to know a little more about God and whatever. And so Rafa said, yeah, I'll take you to my church. It's like, you never go to church. It's like, yeah, but I'm an Adventist. And so he ended up in our church out of nowhere, bringing his friend that later on became a Seventh-day Adventist. And you might know this guy, Toquinho. Remember Toquinho?
Toquinho. That's an apodo, right?
Yeah, Jorge. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But this is a conversion story about how God brought him in. Okay. And so he will tell you a story a little before he, he's always kind of being he's a jokester, as you can see over there. He's always bullying me about many things.
About soccer and whatnot, right?
Yeah, we used to play soccer together. Anyway, this is a nice conversation, so I can go anywhere.
Yes. When it comes to one of the questions that I have is when it comes to club ministries in the local church in the NAD, have you seen a decline in Pathfinder clubs, in Adventurers Club, in Master Guides clubs, whether it's a Hispanic churches or English-speaking churches or another culture type of church?
Nah, look, this is what I've seen, and this happens across the board. Pathfinder ministry is strong and across the board until you get the kids to high school age. Once they get to 9th grade, they start struggling to keep up with the work and stay in Pathfinders. And this is across the board. You can go any culture, and usually when they get to high school is when they stop coming, some of them. And that's where you see kind of the difference. You have a lot of kids, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13. When they get to 14 and 15, the last 2 or 3 years of Pathfinders, that's when you see the drop. And it is because of high school becomes a very consuming time of their lives. Many of them have sports. Many of them have extracurricular activities that requires a lot of time, and these kids are stretched to the max. One of the things that I've seen is that the other part is it also depends on the church, the committed leaders. I believe that over there in Texas, you don't see that, man. You got growth all over the place, man. I mean, you go to Pathfinder Camporees, Adventure Camporees, Master Guide Camporees, and they're steady. They're big. I can tell you they're across the North American division. The Texas Conference has the biggest Camporees of a conference.
Wow.
And I have not seen. They're even bigger than Union Camporees, man. I've been to Union Camporees where they have 3,000 people for Pathfinder Camporee. And I go to Texas and you have 4,000, 4,500 Pathfinders in the Texas Conference Camporee. And that's amazing. So ministry in Texas, I miss it in many ways because I go to some conference. I'm like, is this really how you're doing Pathfinders and Adventures? I'm like, I can't believe it. In my mind is like Texas standard. And it's tough. But that's the beautiful part of it because there's a passion in there for club ministries in this conference. And other conferences have it too. Florida has a great program. Greater New York, amazing program. Lake Region is growing right now. There's a lot of places in North America that Pathfinders is thriving. Now, once again, the struggle across the board from what I see is when the kids get to high school. And that is something that when you look at the curriculum, what they have to do, it's a lot of stuff.
Right.
So it's hard for the kids to do homework, to do extracurricular activities, and to do their Pathfinder work too. It's tough, but it's doable. It can be done. So.
All right. Ashley, do you have any questions?
I did think of one, but it has to do with Pathfinder specifically.
No problem. Go ahead.
Just because we were talking about it, I know that a few years ago the IA classwork was reformatted.
Yeah.
And it seemed like when it was reformatted, the high school portion got a lot. It seemed to be more than it was when I was in Pathfinders, I haven't looked at it super close yet.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten there and reading through my Pathfinder Director Manual, but I was just wondering, as you know, as a new Pathfinder Director, is there any advice that you would give on encouraging kids to get through the IA homework, but encouraging them to work on it?
Yeah. Let me give you a tip, and this is, some people will crucify me because the Pathfinder crowd is very to the law and to the testimony. You have to fulfill all the requirements to be able to get your little patch, your little pin. That's the key. I mean, you have to. But I have spoken with more experienced leaders on this, and I'm not alone on the feeling. I believe that the IA, the Investiture Achievement requirements, yes, they need to be fulfilled. But in the end, this is about ministry. And we should not, I'm not saying, you didn't do your work, I'm going to go ahead and pass you. But we should not be focused on accomplishing everything if we don't have the time. I'd rather keep the kids in high school in the club by giving them some extra work on different times in the summer or whatever, and extending the period that they can achieve the requirements and make it fun, instead of saying you have to make it to this date, and if you don't, you will never get it. I really don't like that approach of, to law and to testimony with this. I think that ministry should be flexible, not because we're breaking any laws and we're going against any principles. Especially this is not salvation matters. Pathfinder's curriculum is not a salvation matter. You will not get saved till you finish, and you will not get lost if you don't finish. So in my mind, in my understanding, and my wish would be for you, especially in COVID season, to be as flexible as you can, to make it as engaging as you can, not to saying, if you don't finish, you don't have any chance. Look, man, if the kids can't finish during the year because they have so much stuff, but you can work with them throughout the summer and they finish, they've done it. There's no problem with that. But be flexible, especially in COVID season where you can't. You got to be able to work with them. This is about ministries, and it's not about getting your patch. It's about ministry. And I'd rather keep the kids because we're having a good time and fulfilling certain requirements, not all of them. And they can understand, hey, at some point you got to finish. But if you have a relationship with them, say, hey, we're going to work it throughout the whole year, all the way to the summer, because I don't want to overwhelm you and I don't want to be overwhelmed myself. We're going to do it together, and you have fun. You make it, flexible for them. That's the main purpose of it. I don't like hard set dates for this, because it breaks the spirit on many of them that they didn't finish in time. They go some nights trying to finish their requirements. Some of them fulfill them halfly, or they understand half of what they do. They just write things without even thinking about it, just because they need to finish their requirements. I'd rather have them understand what they're writing at a slow pace, and getting invested later than finishing quick, not understanding what they're writing, just to finish it. So that's my thought. Of course, once again, some of the Pathfinder crowd will say that's blasphemy. You have to finish on time, and you have to do it in a certain way. Yeah. So anyway, that's my response.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a beautiful thing when you're dealing with young people, and this is one of the things that I want to exhort everybody to understand. Yes, you need to have fun. People say, "Oh, youth ministry has become all about fun." No, it's not all about fun. But if you don't have that relationship with them, and you cannot have a good fun with them, this ministry is not going to be interesting for them. The curriculum to accomplish is going to be a task to do instead of something to live by. If you make it about a to-do list, the requirements you got to fulfill it, it's going to become like, So you do have to have a relationship with them. You have to have fun. You have to find ways to engage with them. And many times drop things and say, what's really going on? I mean, you're struggling here. You cannot turn it in. What's going on? You have too much homework at home, at school. How can we work together? Instead of saying, well, you did not submit it, you're done. I can't sign it. So you see, the approach has a lot to do with the passion for youth ministry that some of these kids have after they are done with it. So anyway, that's my take, my belief, the way I live my life in club ministries. And I've gotten into many fights when we talk about the uniform items that I need to be wearing and the way that I need to be wearing them, and the right different, how many inches apart and the color and blah 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 and all these things. And I'm like, guys, I love this, but this is not a matter of salvation. I really like the discussion on chords and different chords and pins and buttons and all the stuff that you want to talk about, but this is not going to save someone. That's my belief. So of course I got to abide and I got to work it and have the right different, inch size and all stuff. But man, some of us get really, really intense about the little details on uniform and things like that. So anyway, just my thoughts. Sergio, what are you eating, man?
Chips.
Oh man, are they healthy?
They are very good. Hey, there's some live lessons there on what you were sharing. I think that whenever, for example, we engage, right? We say, we're gonna go to Six Flags and we're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
So you're so focused on having fun, right? Or so focused on perhaps to be faithful to the letter that you miss the opportunity to have fun.
Yeah.
Or the opportunity to learn, or the purpose for what you're doing. And that is true to church, right? I mean, we go to church to grow, to learn, to strengthen our relationship with God. And at times, because we're so focused on, hey, well, you need to come to church with a tie, you need to come to church with dressing shoes,
come on,
and
Pastor.
now with sneakers and things like that.
Come on, Pastor.
I'm preaching now. I'm preaching.
Well, hey, look. This goes back to our conversation. You talk about TikTok. You talk about Snapchat.
Right.
We talk about the discipleship and mentorship. Honestly, I have a 13-year-old kid who likes to dress up, and he at his age, he dresses up better than I ever did at that age.
Well,
I was dressed up by my mom, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm okay. I didn't mind.
Did she comb you like?
Oh
this
no,
way right
man!
here?
I did my hair, and so that's one of the things. But you see, he understands, or whatever the crowd that he's hanging out understands certain things that I don't.
Right.
This sneaker stuff, man. It's crazy. You know, I, for the life of me, I would not believe 5 years ago the sneakers would have been in for church or for any spiritual activity, but they
Right.
have become it. You know, sneakers. Now, you may spend $150 on sneakers. They're more expensive than your Savage shoes. So, for some of them, those shoes are their most expensive shoes. So for them, it's like these are special shoes.
So you
I'm
can't
gonna
say we're your best because these are my best, right?
exactly. But you know, that's besides the point.
Some
My point
Yeezys.
is, my Yeezys or whatever. You know, my point is
Oh.
this. You know, I think that my son will be able to reach a crowd that I can't. Why? Because of the way that they act, the way they look. Of course, and I'm not, you know, exalting the way they look and the way they dress. I find skinny jeans or, you know, tight jeans or, you know, I just can't do that, you know. But that's the way it is, you know, and that's what people are wearing right now. And they communicate through that, you know, the culture of that. They communicate, and so they relate to each other when they're talking about sneakers, when they're talking about, you know, different clothes. Now, does that make him Bane? I don't think so. It's just the culture that they live in,
Right.
you know, and we have to accept the fact that that culture will reach the same culture, and our you know culture that from before is not gonna affect them. You know, he looked at some pictures of me when I was in college and I was wearing baggy jeans. And he's like, Dad, what are you wearing? I was like, man, back then the baggy jeans were in, brother.
Yeah, they
And he's like,
were.
and he's like, why?
They
You
were.
know, but that's the thing. Back then, I would communicate with my peeps on that end. He is communicating with his peeps on that end. So accepting them, the way they dress, the way they are, you know, talk about Sabbath's best. Some of them dress very sharply, even with their sneakers and stuff. They dress very sharply. They not might be the tie. They might be a bow tie or no bow tie, no tie, whatever. But I gotta respect that because they will be able to reach the same crowd that they're dressing alike. And so how do I do that? Because if we say, well, you can only come to church in a tie or a suit or whatever, we're gonna miss a lot of people. And our intention is not to miss a lot of people. Our intention is to say, hey, anybody can come. The problem is that we have this standard in our church that it has to be a certain way, it has to be certain things, the certain kind of music, certain kind of order of service, and all the stuff. That's the reason I say, man, let the young people have a center of influence, a coffee shop, a vegan organic coffee shop. I don't know if that's possible, but anyway. And let them do their service the way they do things to their own, because they're going to reach their own with the gospel in their own language. Anyway.
Ashley was saying boba tea.
Boba tea. Yes, sir.
That's a big thing with the younger crowd. At least the younger crowd I'm familiar with here in Austin is boba tea.
Boba tea, chai, all that stuff. I mean, Starbucks kind of drinks, and you're like, man, an Adventist doesn't drink Starbucks. Believe me, a lot of young people who are Adventists are drinking, and it's not gonna. I mean, they're not gonna go to hell because of it. A lot of people will be surprised about this, but coffee is not gonna send you to hell. Now, do we talk about caffeine and all this stuff in different ways? Yes, we do. But it's not a matter of salvation if you drink coffee or not, if you drink Coca-Cola or not, if you wear a wedding ring or not. The young people are not interested in things that are like superficial for them. For them is Micah 6:8 when we walk humbly before the Lord, do justice. And that's the things for today. If you look around, my friend Pastor Vandian, who's the other associate youth director, he has a 17-year-old, right? And about a month ago, the marches for George Floyd were big, right? And he's African American, so he's feeling it. He's feeling the urge to do something. and he had a meeting for hours, and they were talking about what to do and how to approach it and blah blah. His daughter just looks at him and says, "Dad, and then what? What are you guys gonna do? You talked for 4 hours,
Mercy.
but then what?" And he's like, "Well, and she's like, let's go out and walk, let's go out and do." And then he's like, and he's not against marching. He did go with his daughter. They went and they marched with the mask and all the stuff. They did it safely. But that's the kind of attitude that the young kids right now, the young people, they're not worrying about the wedding band. They're not worrying about if you drink coffee or not, if you do this or not. They're worrying about, is the church being actually active? Is what they're saying translating into action? Because if we're just talking and we don't do, for the young people, it says, we talk about justice. What are we doing as a church to bring justice to the world? That's what I find most interesting.
More actions, less talk. More actions, less talk.
And you know that at local church, brother, that's the same thing.
There's a story, and we're all familiar with this story of Jesus and the demoniac from the gatherings.
The gatherings, yes.
Territory, right? And I was reading that story the other day, and
were you reading in what gospel? Because I love the story from Mark on that perspective.
What's the difference between that one and the other one?
Brother, if you remember the story of Mark, it's very interesting. For everybody who's watching, you got to read it in the different because one has the two gatherings. Mark has only one, but
okay, yeah,
there's things that Mark says, that talks about, like, Jesus said, I have to go to the other side in chapter 4 when he's going there.
Okay.
And he did not have to. I mean, he's going to a place, that nobody wants to go. It's on the other side. It's a place where heathens are there, pagans. And he goes there, and then he encounters this guy. He says that he loves the guy. The other gospels don't say it, but he says he looked at him and he loved him. This is pretty cool. There's many things, and if you read, pretty cool thing. By the way, I read this in here.
The book that you were sharing with us?
No, this is another one. Who is this man? By John Ortberg. Sorry.
Okay.
And the story comes in here. That comes full circle. You look at chapter 8 of Mark, and you see how Jesus comes back to that area in Decapolis. And the first time he goes, he meets the gathering. He's rejected. He's sent home. He's like, we don't want to do anything with you. We don't want to do anything with Jesus. And he stays, the demoniac. And he says, go and tell everybody what God has done. When Jesus comes back in chapter 8, it says that everybody was trying to see Jesus. And how did they know it was him? Because 4 chapters before, this guy was sent as a missionary to that area. So it's just like a great connection. It's just an amazing sermon. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's what I was. That's that part right there of like, hey, you go, because he was kicked out, right?
Yeah.
He was kicked out of that place, and what catches my attention so much is that even Jesus, even our heavenly Savior, was not able to enter into a territory where he could preach the good news.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another person that had influence on that whole territory who was allowed to go into that place and had that influence, right? So he became an influencer in that territory that God used, where even Jesus and his disciples could not penetrate that territory.
Yeah.
So when we talk about influence, being an influencer, or being on social media, and being young. And this principle applies in with our youth, with our young adults, with our pathfinders, with our master guides, and with our adults. That we have a crowd that we influence over, and that God is going to ask us account, that we're going to give account for what we were responsible for and how we manage that responsibility. So as we close here tonight, guys, Ashley, Armando, I don't know about y'all, but in 2020 has been a rough year for all of us.
Yeah.
It has been a scary year for all of us. I do believe that our youth and our young adults are going to finish the proclamation of the gospel, of the precious gospel, that we need to empower them. And above all, man, I mean, I'm tired of this world. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to see Jesus in the clouds of glory. But in order for that to happen, we need to continue preaching the gospel. We need to continue baptizing. We need to continue sharing the beautiful gospel and the message of it with the people who are willing to listen to us, right?
Yes. Hey, man, I'm looking at what I was saying about Mark, the difference between Matthew and Luke. There's one phrase that I really like. With Mark, you read the stories of Mark and they're very concise, but certain times there's little nuggets that he puts in there. You're like, wow, okay. So verse 6 of chapter 5. This is the only part. This is the only one in the three stories that when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. It doesn't say in Luke. It doesn't say it in Matthew. It says that he came and worshipped Jesus. Now this is an interest. Like, why would? And the other one says, they fail and they say, why are you doing this to us, Jesus? But over here it says he came and worshipped him, worshipped Jesus. So little details like that of the story is like, man, that's the reason I love Mark in many ways too. But hey, Sergio, Amen. Ashley, thank you for the invitation. Ashley, I know that you're going to have a tough year trying to figure out Pathfinders. I will pray that you find wisdom from above. I know that God will give it to you. But remember, make it simple, make it enjoyable. Be open to flexibility. It is not easy for anybody to be home doing everything from home in a screen. And if you meet, of course, you got to be under regulations and trying to do like that. But, just to give you an example, when I was in my church and we did Pathfinders, very quick, Sergio, we tried to do activities outdoors. And they did not fulfill the whole activity, but they were outdoors. They were having fun. The bird honor, I remember we got the Pathfinders to go bird watching.
Ooh.
And they did not finish that day. It probably took 2-3 days, of work. But just a simple fact to say, let's start this. Let's keep going together. Let's do it together, and let's take our time with it. Let's do it, enjoyable. Not like, oh, we gotta get done. PowerPoint presentation, we're done. Let's go. Let's move to the next one. When you do that, it's enjoyable. So make Pathfinders, adventures, make whatever you have enjoyable, flexible, because people are adjusting to this reality of virtual reality, and it's not easy. So I'll pray for you, Ashley. Keep a tough direction forward. God is going to give you everything that you need. And Sergio, thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
I pray that this year of this new church year, next year you may have an addition to your Sabbath school class of Cradle Roll. Don't tell Carol, but I'm just praying for God's will to be done.
Every time I talk with Armando, he's like, so she pregnant yet? So when he's coming? Look, when is she coming?
Ashley, they've been married 3 years. Come on, man. Get to it, guys.
Hey, tell Ashley she doesn't have any kids. She has 5 years of marriage. Come on,
Ashley, come on, Ashley. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I don't know you to go in there, but to go into that topic. But I know Sergio, and so I'm gonna get on him. You take your time, Ashley. Sergio, come on.
Hey, I have a question here from Ruben Magayan. He's
Ruben!
he says regarding the health message, the exception is that you need to love Whataburger and not In-N-Out.
All right, Ruben Magayan is it Ruben the younger or
The son,
the older?
the son.
You see, Ruben Magayan was one of the Pathfinders when I got to youngest Pathfinders when I got to Central. We're talking about he was like 10 or 11 when I met him.
Okay.
Man, he was so into the Cowboys. It was insane, bro. I was
I
like,
didn't know that. Oh, the team, the Cowboys
yes,
team.
the Cowboys. Yeah, it's like, I'm so sorry, man. I really, really am so sorry. Of course, I'm a 49er fan, so anyway. But man, Ruben is such an amazing leader, man. Right now, he is a leader in the church. I think he's a Pathfinders. I don't know if he's the leader of Pathfinders in Central, but he's involved in ministry. So I love to see what God is doing in his life and in their life over there. So hey, Ruben, I don't know, Whataburger. I don't know.
That's
what
what
do you
I
think,
tell him,
Ashley?
man. That's what I tell him.
Hold on. There's Whataburger, In-N-Out. There's Five Guys, right?
Ooh.
Five Guys, right?
Oof.
Besides that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to add any of the other ones because I don't think there's competition after those three.
What do you think, Ashley? Huh?
Well, I have no personal experience with In-N-Out or Five Guys because they don't have veggie burgers. So, Whataburger all the way.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Burger King has an Impossible Burger. So there you
Yes.
That's true. It's actually pretty good. But I still like Whataburger better. Sorry, I'm a Texan through and through.
I'm not gonna say anything. I really appreciate Whataburger too. So hey, I love Texas and everything Texas. So if I could have a Texas life, I would. But I'm here in Maryland. So anyway, nice to meet you, Ashley, Pastor.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you as
Absolutely.
well.
Bye.
Thank you all for watching. Pastor John Arana, thank you. God bless you. Annette Rusiel, Desiree Lewis, Stacy Mego. Stacy Mego is watching.
Where are they watching? I don't see them on Facebook. Are they watching on YouTube?
So they're streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So maybe she's watching from there.
Yeah. Because I don't see it over here. It's okay.
The next,
hey guys, everybody.
The next interview is going to be with Karen de la Fuente. She's here, replying as well. We need to ask Karen de la Fuente some questions.
Hey man, we had our stuff with Rafa. He was like he was. I'm just gonna stop right there, man. He was like an annoying mosquito. That kind of youth leader that you have there's kind of annoying. It's fun, but he's annoying. We love the guy dearly, man. He's gonna be a father. It's gonna change his life.
We love you, Rafa. We love you, Rafa. Lily Sanchez, Ilda also has a heart for the youth and the young adults. If you're watching and you have a heart for the youth and young adults, do not give up on them. Mentor them, bless them, care for them, love them, and may God continue to use you for His honor and for His glory.
Hey, over there, you see Gustavo Velosa. Gustavin!
He's
my
that
friend, man.
Pastor Mas Velosa from Austin, Texas, or from Texas Conference, Gustavo Velosa. He also pastored in the Valley, right?
Hey, it was at the same time that we were down there. So we were partners in sufferings and you know what we're talking about.
So you guys are the OGs of the Valley. Is that it?
Look. One time I remember, and he remembers. And sorry, Ashley, but we're dragging you a conversation. But let me just share this story, man. This story is funny. So our senior pastor, had us paint the emergency, the red emergency fire truck lane thing on the parking lot in Central.
This is you and Gustavo?
Yeah, Gustavo and I went to the store. We got the red stuff, and we sat on a Friday afternoon making sure that thing was red. Parking the fire truck parking, and so we were there for a whole afternoon trying to paint that in the Texas sun in the afternoon Friday. So we're friends of battles.
You got some wounds. You got some wounds in you.
Wounds together. Gustavin, Dios te bendiga, Gustavo.
Oscar and Marcelita Galvis, they are one of the leaders for the campus ministries for UT of Austin.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
Oscar, thank you.
are you Oscar? Claro, I know him. Are you helping them or what?
Of course, we've been working, and Oscar, man, he's a soldier, brother.
Oh yeah, so Oscar works with us too here at the division. He's a
Really?
oh yeah, man. He went to Oshkosh with us. We had some stories over there in Oshkosh last year. Did you go, Ashley?
I did.
Yeah, it was it was
It was amazing. It
yeah,
was huge, but it was
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was. So Oscar was over there with ACF, helping
There
with
you go.
ACF. Yeah. So hey, that's another ministry that you got to support, Sergio. That's a ministry with potential to grow ways that you will never see any other young people from that age, specifically with university students. You may never know how many Adventists are there until you get in there. And there are many Adventists who have left the church because there's no support to them when they're in university. And so what Oscar's trying to do, what many over there in ACF Austin are trying to do, is to bring them together and to have a ministry for Adventists who are in public university. So man, you got to support them, man. That's a great ministry. That's a great contact with other university students.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Ashley, would you close us in prayer tonight?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your Sabbath day and for this opportunity to speak with Pastor Miranda and Pastor Sergio about youth and young adult ministries. Please be with each of us as we continue your work, and with all of those who are watching. Help us to grow your ministry so that we can empower our youth and young adults to finish the work for you, so that you can come back soon. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Pastor Miranda, remember, next time you go to Palau, give Ashley and I a call. We'll carry your bags.
Hey,
we'll be there.
Once again, 2023, the Guam and Micronesia Mission Camporee is on.
Oof.
If you sign up, you got about 3 years to save.
Oof.
But that would be an amazing camporee to attend if you want to go. I'm just saying. Saying. Now, if you have children, it would be a little complicated. So both of you, if in 3 years you have children, well, I don't know if you will able to go.
There you go. That's a good reason to just hold off.
Ashley, take your time. Sergio, just go for it.
All right, folks. Y'all have a great Sabbath. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. God bless you guys.
Happy